Jonesy
and Amanda.
Jam Nation.
Live from Sydney, 7 News with Mark Ferguson.
Oh, okay. What, he brings his own intro? Get that off.
That dramatic music means one thing. Mark Ferguson, hello.
Hello, I thought I was running late for work there. As soon as I hear that theme, I sit up straight.
Can I let off? Do you mind if I let off? Oh,
What are you doing?
I'm sniffing it. Party poppers. We're celebrating 40 years of Mark. Oh,
There's a lot of celebration on one side of the desk,
Yeah.
but someone hasn't blown their little whistle and someone hasn't popped their popper.
I blew it a long time ago, and I don't want to make a mess in this
You
studio.
and we've got
did.
cupcakes with your face on them.
And mine, it's a lovely effort, thank you very much, but someone has poked out the eyes on this one in front
I
of
think
me.
you have to talk to the people at the bakery, mate. Obviously, there's some sort of agenda there.
Look, Brendan, I think you're going to have to face it. When the two of you did a job swap, it was decided that Mark had won.
I think it
When
was the narrowest of
when
margins.
the two of you did the roller derby downstairs, which was like watching Will Ferrell in Blades of Glory, Mark won again. So what do you think, Mark?
Well, as I drove over here, I was listening to the show and enjoying most of it. And I heard you say that in a very warm tone, we're looking forward to talking to Mark this morning. Radio silence for about 3 seconds. Absolutely nothing from Jonesy. So I was approaching here a little bit tentatively thinking, as undefeated champion, he might not welcome me with open arms again.
Look, I think you're fantastic. I think if you just stay in your lane, just don't come over here, talking to all the girls and walking around here.
Yeah, don't come and walk around,
and
Mark.
doing your material.
He's always had a problem ever since. I remember I suggested a few years back, Mandy and Mark in the mornings.
Yeah. And I got my name first, and I think that's very respectful. I appreciate it.
And then we
It's a nice change.
That was part of my move.
But
yes.
can I ask you, because when Juanita Phillips moved on from the ABC after 20 years of being the newsreader there, she said she found it harder and harder to have a thick skin, to not be affected by the stories. What's your strategy to cope when things are hard?
Sometimes you have to look away. You really do. There are sometimes you're involved in a story, you know what's about to come up, you get through that intro, but there are times when some of the material is so emotional and so heartfelt that you do have to look away at times, because you know you've got to come back on camera, maybe 90 seconds later, you've got to be composed, you've got to be authoritative, you've got to get on with the job. But there are times that is very, very difficult, yeah.
It would be. But as I get older, I find I'm becoming a bit more emotional. Do you find that? As
Yes,
you get older?
you do.
You
Yeah.
do? You just find a bit more...
You get a bit sookier.
Yeah,
I think
more
so.
empathy. I think it would be very hard to read some of those heartbreaking stories.
You do, and also I remember very clearly that becoming a dad for the first time, that's a very emotional moment in your life, and suddenly things that didn't really impact you in your work life suddenly do. So any story involving children in harm's way, I found that very difficult in those first few years as a dad.
I must say, reading that auto cue, that is very hard. There's a real skill, a real cadence to reading the auto cue. Do you do any vocal exercises before you go on? Do you say red leather, yellow leather, or unique New York?
Here
do
we
you
go.
do
Won't
any
you
of
give
it?
us your other favourite one, Brendan?
No, I'm asking Mark. I'm asking your boyfriend here if he does, I'm trying to glean information so I can be better at my job.
I like that you said it's harder than it looks, yeah.
Yes, I think it's
I
harder
do
than
like
it
to
looks.
look back at that time that you filled in that time.
I
Because
thought-
it does make me feel
There was a bit of
better
a
about
buzz.
my performance.
There was a buzz around 7. I just remember there was a lot of executives going, who is this kid?
I think you stole Kosh's tie, didn't you, to be honest? But
Well, there's not
seriously,
many.
no,
You don't see many hula girl ties these days.
I don't do any sort of really warm-up type exercises. I did at one stage in my career when I went from my first, from my country job to my first big city job, the boss called me in and said, we're going to have to do something about knocking out some of that Tamworth twang.
Oh.
So I did have a little series of elocution lessons back in the
Right.
day. And in over the last few weeks, we've looked back and had a bit of a laugh at some of my earlier attempts at journalism. And there is a stage there where I'm sounding like I'm from England because I'm straight out of elocution class.
That's what happened back, Amanda, when you get her from Beyond 2000. She sounded like Clancy from Skippy.
Yeah.
Mr. Hammond, Mr. Hammond.
That's exactly how
That's
I
how
said.
we all spoke.
Jonesy's boganed me up.
Well, I sounded like Skippy from Skippy back in the early days.
But I found in Australia we don't open our mouths when we speak. So words like fire. So when I was going to Max Rowley's Media Academy, he said my exercise was Irene was delighted by the sight of the bright fire, and the guide tried to lead them down the mountainside at night. So you've got that. I know you're threatened
He's
by
sounding
this.
like a thesp now,
A
isn't he?
thespian. And old Mother Ruddle had a rough cut punt.
That's
Really?
the one he
I'm-
likes to get
I'm
out.
not
That's
gonna-
why-
I'm
could
not
you
gonna
wanna
try
say that?
No,
Why
I'm
don't you
I'm
say
not gonna
that?
try that
No.
one on
You could
radio.
go viral like Barnaby.
I still have words that I would rather not say on the TV. So if I can find a way of not saying phenomenal,
Oh.
Oh, you did that all right.
I'll change that one. To
And how do you
something
go with
easier.
some of the foreign countries or
Yeah.
foreign cities and things?
Yeah, look,
Prime
you've,
Minister's
you've got to
names.
do your preparation.
Yeah.
Sports names can be tricky. Some of
tennis.
those tennis players, very tricky.
Have you ever thought of just saying, old mate, he did really well?
A Rex Mossop. Doing a Rex Mossop, no. I often sit there when Mel or Matt are doing the sport and think, I'm glad I'm not covering the tennis.
'Cause that would be the
That's
hardest.
a little difficult. But look, you've got to be prepared. One thing I love to do is know exactly where I'm going, what I'm about to say. So if there's a name I'm not sure about, I'll go and ask, I'll go and check. And that takes me back to the reason that I do that. Very early in my career, I had a name that I think I was doing a news that was at 6 a.m. Didn't really check what it was, but thought I knew what it was. The leader of North Korea at the time. I looked at it on the computer, looked at it on the auto cue, said, I've got this. Kim Jong II. It happened to be Kim Jong-il. But I thought they were Roman numerals. It was Kim Jong II. And I had a young producer come up to me afterwards and said, I think you got that one wrong. I said, I don't think so. I think that was good. And then I scurried off to check and I was very, very
Because
embarrassed.
why wouldn't they have Roman numerals
Yeah,
in
why
North
wouldn't
Korea?
Exactly. My thoughts exactly about 22 years ago. So that was a very good lesson earlier in my studio career. If in doubt, check twice.
And that was your last mistake, I bet.
I'm glad that you pointed that out, Jonesy. Yeah, I think so. I think
Clearly,
you're right there. Yeah.
clearly. I know, and I know around the corridors of Channel 7, they still say there's a bit of a buzz when that kid came in.
How many years ago was that when that kid went in?
Kid came in?
57-year-old kid.
Young fella off the bench coming in. Kim Jong
Who was that
II.
work experience kid?
Who was that
You're
good-looking
Kim
young
Jong
man?
the first.
You know, Ann Sanders, she said, my God, the kid's a natural. That's what she said.
Ann Sanders, my lovely neighbour. We sit
That's what
next
she
to each
said.
other in the newsroom.
We went through the stuff and she said, look, don't worry about pretty boy. There are a dime a dozen people like you.
You aren't pretty.
People like you.
You had your chance, Jonesy, and you blew it.
Mark, we wish you nothing but success.
No, you don't.
We do, I do.
And we've got cupcakes. Can I lick your face?
You sure
Your
can.
face is on them. Here we go.
How about
I'll do it in the privacy of my own time.
That is
Please.
one of the highlights of my 40 years.
watch Channel 7 News tonight with our boy Mark Ferguson. Would you stop? We're going to clean up the studio for Ugly Phil. Congratulations, mate.
Thank you so much. Thank you for having me.